From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight. The Denver Broncos have been very busy in NFL free agency. The new league year is upon us, so now we can talk about the moves they have made. And Ben, as expected, the Broncos started out addressing the offensive line.
Oh, yeah, right off the bat. You got a guard that can pass, pro, and pull, and Ben Austin Danger Powers.
Come on.
And Mike McGlinchey.
Why do you have to do nicknames for everybody all the time? It's always a nickname that you need to come up with.
Okay, well, Magic Mike McGlinchey then over there on the right side. It could always get worse. And, I mean, right off the bat, you could kind of start to see the Sean Payton imprint on this offense. You nasty guys on the offensive line, shored up those holes. Then they had the big road grader tight end, Chris Mannertz, over there as well, which is interesting because Mannertz is a guy with a basketball background. He never played football before getting a tryout with Rex Ryan and the Bills. He played basketball at Canisius, where he was a power forward, and he learned the rules of football by playing Madden. As he was trying to strap the pads on for the first time at 22, 23 years old. So, that's interesting. A basketball guy who actually kind of has that nasty attitude because normally it's kind of the other way. The Julius Thomas where you're more of a receiver, less of a blocker.
Especially for the basketball guys. We know a very famous one that played down with the New Orleans Saints, right?
Right. Jimmy Graham, Antonio Gates, we go on and on. But those guys tend to be great receivers, but not really. Mannertz is the other way around. By the way, trivia note, Chris Mannertz has caught 2 touchdowns in his career. Both the first touchdowns thrown by that player. Trevor Lawrence from Jacksonville.
I know Trevor Lawrence was one of them.
And Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, wow.
Do the other, on a play fake. So just a little trivia for that. I wonder if he kept any of those touchdown balls, fight those guys over. But, you had those guys. Then on the defensive side, Zach Allen, we kind of knew that was coming as we knew Draymond was moving on. We knew Zach Allen would come with Vance Joseph and kind of plug into that spot. Allen's a little bit better of a run defender, holds the gap integrity a little bit better than Draymond. Not as good at getting upfield as Draymond, but holds that.
But had a great year at 5.5 sacks.
Right, and near Draymond production over the course of the season that he had. So, that's good as well. They had the corner and return man, Tremont Smith, who is an excellent returner, very athletic guy, and kind of figures to be the fourth corner on this team and has a chance to move up with a good training camp. And then one of my favorites, I like big backs and I cannot lie, Samaje Perine. 235 pounds. The guy catches well in the backfield. If you really want to see some fun tape, watch the Cincinnati Bengals against the Dallas Cowboys and watch him just stonewalling Micah Parsons over and over again at pass pro. It's the kind of deep dive football stuff that nerds like me love. And then the fullback Mike Burton from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, well, and Alex Singleton, they brought him back.
Singleton is back.
Yep, which is a really good move. And again, the Broncos, up to the point of us recording this, have spent more in free agency than anybody. What does that tell you?
Well, we knew that was coming. They had a lot of holes. They had a lot of cash, and they were going to be able to try to do that. So, for me, it was an encouraging sign that there was more cap space available in Chicago, that people chose Denver over Chicago, and some of them had options. Powers and McGlinchey had options. And so, to me, it says something about, even though it's been a while for the Broncos, 7 years since the playoffs or whatever, that there's a culture in Denver that resonates with free agents that say that's a quality organization. And now they've got the cash backing behind it to be able to compensate for any shortcomings.
I'd also say Sean Payton had something to do with it a little bit. I think that Sean Payton being the head coach of this team, there was a moment where last year we talked about Russell Wilson being an attractive spot for free agents, and he was. And there's certainly some that came out and said, I absolutely want to be here because Russell Wilson is here. That might still be a bit of the case, but I also think Sean Payton is the head coach and the relationships he's built. Certainly we've seen some ties to the Saints, right? Mm-hmm. And specifically the design of things, of what they're going to try to do is playing out. So as we're sitting here right now talking about the free agents, we knew that the trenches were going to be the first thing to be addressed. That is where they spent the bulk of their money right up front. But then they've been doing such a good job sort of filling in the gaps with a lot of these other players. And I'm 100% with you. Samaje Perine, who oftentimes is just a third down back for the Cincinnati Bengals with Joe Mixon sort of, when he went out. But if he was ever out for a game, Samaje Perine, he played like a starting running back. Mm-hmm. And so he has plus hands out of the backfield, great in pass protection, and as you mentioned, he's a bowling ball. He's a really physical running back.
Yeah, and so, I think that I like what they've done. But it really, the identity of what this team is going to be next year is probably a lot different than what a lot of people thought when Sean Payton got hired. I think most people think about Drew Brees and slinging the ball over the yard. And the reality is that in 9 of the seasons that Sean Payton was in New Orleans, they were top 10, top half of the league in rushing attempts. 7 times they were top 7 in the league in attempts of rushing the football. And so I do believe that this is going to be a power run football team that builds off play action and throws deep on occasion. I think it's going to be a smash mouth football team. I don't think they're going to be slinging all over the yard. I don't think there's going to be 5,000-yard passing seasons. I think it's going to be a heavy 1-2 punch, and I think you're going to see Russ Wilson's rushing total go up for the first time in quite some time.
Well, I mean, you said it. The first 3 things you were out of your mouth were the 2 offensive linemen and then the tight end, who's in a lot of ways a glorified offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. You start out there. You're saying a very specific direction you're going. You bring in a fullback. You're bringing in a physical running back. Mm-hmm. I mean, absolutely. That is 1,000% the direction that this thing is going, and I think for the better, really. I mean, he talked about getting Russ off the high dive early in the offseason, and we saw last year when the Broncos tried to operate in a bit of a high-flying offense, they got stuck a lot. They would have a hard time getting staying on the field when it came to the third downs, especially. But early in drives, they just really stumbled as they're trying to throw the ball when they probably shouldn't, and they're running the ball when they really don't have anything else to do. It just was disjointed in so many ways.
Yeah, I think this offense is probably going to resemble something a lot closer to a Norv Turner offense than what people are thinking of with a Drew Brees style of offense. But we've seen Sean Payton get creative, too. I don't want people to think it's just going to be the I formation, 3 yards and a cloud of dust.
Yeah.
But I think that this offense is going to resemble something a lot closer to that than what perhaps people think in terms of when they think Sean Payton and they think, 5,500 passing yards out of Drew Brees.
Yeah, it's been a really fun group that they've brought in. I especially like the Ben Powers signing. I think that the guy is both dynamic and when it comes to pass pro as well as run blocking. Mike McGlinchey, former top 10 pick, number 9 overall of the 49ers, great in run blocking. One of the things that is concerned a bit is about his pass pro. But I think for Broncos fans that have been waiting for the Broncos to solidify the right tackle spot, I think they did. I think they did with Mike McGlinchey. But, I mean, we've seen that be a turnstile. I think our guy Andrew Mason had 19 different right tackles over the last several years since Orlando Franklin. So it's one of those things that they've been wanting to address. They haven't really had found the correct way to go after it. They tried spending big money on Juwan James. That did not work out. They tried to patchwork it. That didn't work out. So hopefully Mike McGlinchey ends up doing it.
Yeah, and I think he will. I do believe in his ability over there. I think the pass pro struggles are a little overwrought. He learned from one of the best offensive line coaches out there up there at Notre Dame, and I do believe that he will be more than adequate. Fans will be more than happy with what he brings. I think Powers was the marquee signing, although McGlinchey may have been the bigger name. I think Powers was the marquee signing, and I think that if you're looking for a hidden MVP out of this free agent class so far, Tremon Smith, a guy who I think is sticky hands at the corner position and an excellent return guy as well. He might win some hearts and minds out of Broncos fans.
Yeah, and you needed to bring in some competition there either way, right? I mean, Montreal Washington, I thought there was some really nice moments with Montreal Washington, but you look at the stats just on paper, they were one of the worst punt return teams in the league. And so just because we saw some flashes here and there, they still didn't get the production they were looking for.
They didn't. And I think, I have both those guys hopefully can stick around because I think both of them are good enough to, to be something like that. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I'm looking forward to seeing how this receiving core shakes out, in the end. So
absolutely. A lot still to talk about over the coming weeks, but that is the latest with NFL free agency. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Evers. Thanks for watching Broncos Country Tonight.
You can stand up and salute in Denver, and you got the world champions that live in your town.